The hospital director's hand was still extended toward the door when the phone rang. Not the regular line, the red one. The one that hadn't rung in 17 years. Every face in that sterile administrative office turned toward the sound. But Sarah Chen was already walking away, her termination papers clutched in trembling fingers. Her career destroyed, her reputation shattered. She didn't hear the confusion behind her. She didn't see the color drain from Director Morrison's face as he lifted the receiver. She didn't know that in exactly 40 seconds, 3 men in dark suits would arrive asking for the nurse they'd just fired. The weak one. The liability. The woman they said wasn't cut out for real medicine. But Sarah knew something they didn't. Something she'd kept buried for 8 years. Something that was about to turn their entire world upside down. Sarah had always been the quiet one. Growing up in a small Oregon town, she'd been the girl who nursed injured birds back to health, who stayed up all night when her grandmother fell ill, who knew instinctively that healing was her calling. Her parents had been so proud when she got into nursing school. Her mother cried at graduation. Her father told everyone at church about his daughter, the healer. That felt like a lifetime ago now. St. Catherine's Hospital in Seattle had seemed like a dream opportunity. A prestigious institution with state-of-the-art facilities and a reputation for excellence. Sarah had arrived 5 years ago, fresh-faced and eager, ready to make a difference. But from her first week, something felt off. The charge nurse, Patricia Hendricks, had looked her up and down with barely concealed disdain. Sarah was too soft, Patricia said. Too emotional. She cried when patients died. She held their hands too long. She asked too many questions about pain management and comfort care. This isn't a spa, Patricia had sneered during Sarah's first evaluation. This is a hospital. We save lives here. We don't have time for hand-holding. Sarah had tried to toughen up. She really had. She worked double shifts, took on the worst cases, studied constantly to prove herself. But every time she showed compassion, it was marked against her. When she stayed late to comfort a dying man so he wouldn't be alone, she was written up for unauthorized overtime. When she advocated for better pain management for a terminal patient, she was accused of overstepping. When she questioned a doctor's dosage that seemed dangerously high, she was labeled insubordinate. The other nurses noticed. Some were sympathetic but silent, afraid to rock the boat. Others, like Patricia's circle, seemed to take pleasure in her struggles. They gave her the most difficult patients, the ones most likely to complain. They forgot to pass along important information during shift changes. They made jokes about her sensitivity, her weakness, her inability to hack it in real medicine. Maybe you should work at a veterinary clinic, one nurse suggested with mock sweetness. Animals don't file complaints. But Sarah kept going. She had to. Nursing wasn't just her job, it was who she was. And there were moments, brief and shining, that made it worthwhile. The teenager who survived a car crash and squeezed her hand in thanks. The elderly woman who told her she had the touch of an angel. The young father who said her kindness had helped him cope with his wife's cancer diagnosis. Then came the incident with Margaret Wilson. Margaret was 73. Admitted with pneumonia and a host of complications from diabetes. She was scared, confused, and in pain. The night Sarah was assigned to her, Margaret's oxygen levels kept dropping. Sarah monitored her closely, adjusting the flow, repositioning her, staying by her bedside. At 2 a.m., Margaret's breathing became labored. Sarah called for the resident, but he was in surgery. She made a judgment call, a decision based on everything she knew about respiratory distress, about patient care, about reading the signs that textbooks couldn't teach. She increased Margaret's oxygen support and administered a breathing treatment that hadn't been officially ordered yet. It was a risk. It was technically against protocol. But Margaret's lips were turning blue, and Sarah knew that waiting another 15 minutes could mean the difference between life and death. Margaret stabilized. By morning, she was breathing easier. The resident arrived and retroactively approved everything Sarah had done. Margaret recovered and went home 3 days later. Sarah thought she'd done the right thing. She'd saved a life. But Patricia saw an opportunity. The write-up was brutal. Unauthorized treatment. Acting outside her scope. Reckless endangerment. Never mind that Margaret had lived. Never mind that the resident had confirmed Sarah's actions were medically sound. Patricia painted Sarah as a dangerous rogue, someone who thought she knew better than doctors, someone whose emotional attachments clouded her judgment. Director Morrison called her in 2 weeks later. His office was cold, impersonal, filled with plaques and certificates that proved his importance. He didn't waste time on pleasantries. "Sarah, this isn't working out," he said, not quite meeting her eyes. "You're a liability. You're too emotionally involved. You don't follow protocols. Several staff members have expressed concerns about your judgment." "But I saved Margaret's life," Sarah protested, her voice shaking. The resident approved. "You got lucky," Morrison interrupted. "Next time you might not. We can't have nurses who think the rules don't apply to them. We can't have weak links in our chain." Weak. That word landed like a punch. She'd heard it whispered, but never said so directly to her face. "I'm not weak," Sarah said quietly. "I'm thorough. I'm careful. I care about my patients." "Caring isn't enough in medicine," Morrison replied. "You need strength, detachment, the ability to make hard choices without falling apart." "I'm sorry, Sarah, but St. Catherine's isn't the right fit for you. We're letting you go, effective immediately." The room spun. 5 years of her life, dismissed in 5 minutes. Sarah felt tears burning in her eyes and hated herself for it. This was exactly what they expected, the weak nurse crying again. "Please," she whispered. "This is all I've ever wanted to do. This is who I am." Morrison stood, signaling the conversation was over. He held out a folder. "Your termination papers. HR will explain your exit benefits. I suggest you find a different field. Maybe home health care, something less intense. You're just not cut out for hospital work." Sarah took the folder with numb fingers. She walked out of his office in a daze, barely registering Patricia's satisfied smirk as she passed the nurse's station. The other nurses looked away, uncomfortable witnesses to her humiliation. Sarah grabbed her purse from her locker, not bothering with the personal items she'd accumulated over 5 years. She just wanted to leave, to get out before the tears came. She was halfway to the exit when she heard the commotion between her raised voices. Running footsteps. Someone saying, "Where is she? Where did she go?" Sarah kept walking. Whatever crisis was happening, it wasn't her problem anymore. She wasn't a St. Catherine's nurse. She was just a failure, a washout, someone too weak for real medicine. She pushed through the front doors into the gray Seattle morning. The rain had started, of course. It felt appropriate, pathetic fallacy made real. She stood on the sidewalk, letting the water soak through her scrubs, wondering what she was supposed to do now. How do you rebuild your life when the only thing you've ever wanted has been taken away? Her phone buzzed. A text from her mother. "How's my favorite nurse today?" Sarah stared at the message, tears finally spilling over. How was she supposed to tell her parents? They'd been so proud. They'd told everyone. Their daughter, the healer, working at a prestigious hospital in the big city. Now what was she? A cautionary tale. A warning to other idealistic nursing students. Don't be like Sarah Chen. Don't care too much. Don't be weak, Miss Chen. Sarah turned. 3 men in dark suits stood behind her, seemingly unbothered by the rain. The one who'd spoken was tall, military-bearing, with silver hair and eyes that had seen things textbooks didn't cover. The other 2 flanked him like guards, their posture alert, their expressions unreadable. "Sarah Chen?" the man repeated. "Yes," Sarah said warily. "Who are you?" "My name is Colonel James Reeves. I need you to come with me." Sarah almost laughed. This had to be a joke. Some cruel prank orchestrated by Patricia, one final humiliation. "I don't think so. I'm not in the mood for whatever this is." "Miss Chun, this isn't optional." Reeves pulled out credentials, military ID, Pentagon clearance, official seals that looked terrifyingly real. We need to speak with you immediately. It's a matter of national security. National security. The words didn't compute. Sarah was a failed nurse standing in the rain, not a spy or a soldier or anything remotely connected to the Pentagon. There must be a mistake, she said. I'm nobody. I just got fired. We know, Reeves interrupted. We know everything about you, Miss Chun, including things you thought you'd left behind. Sarah's blood went cold. No, they couldn't know. She'd buried that part of her life so deep, had worked so hard to become someone normal, someone ordinary. Just Sarah Chun, small-town nurse. Nothing special, nothing dangerous. I don't know what you're talking about, she said, but her voice betrayed her. Reeves stepped closer, lowering his voice. 8 years ago, you were Dr. Sarah Chen, combat surgeon, stationed in classified locations across the Middle East. You performed over 300 emergency surgeries in active war zones. You saved the lives of soldiers, civilians, and high-value intelligence assets under conditions that would break most people. You received commendations, medals, and a presidential citation. Then you disappeared. The world tilted. Sarah grabbed the railing beside her. Memories she'd tried to suppress flooding back. The sand, the blood, the sound of helicopters and gunfire. The endless stream of broken bodies she'd tried to piece back together. The young soldiers who died on her table despite everything she knew, everything she could do. The night she'd finally broken, covered in someone else's blood, unable to stop shaking. She'd left it all behind. Changed her name slightly, dropped the doctor title, became just a nurse. Someone who could heal without carrying the weight of life and death decisions in war zones. Someone who could be normal, ordinary, weak. That wasn't me, Sarah whispered. Yes, it was. And we need her back. No. Sarah shook her head violently. I can't. I'm not that person anymore. I couldn't handle it then. And I can't handle it now. Look at me, I just got fired for being too emotional, too weak. I'm exactly what they said I am. Director Morrison is a fool, Reeves said bluntly. And right now, he's inside that hospital having a nervous breakdown because the Pentagon just informed him that he fired one of the most decorated combat surgeons in modern military history. A surgeon we need. Immediately. For what? Reeves glanced at his companions, then back at Sarah. I can't tell you here. But there's a situation. Americans are in danger, and you're the only person with the specific skill set we need. Lives are at stake, Miss Chun. A lot of them. Sarah laughed, the sound bitter and broken. You want me to save lives? I couldn't even save my career. I couldn't even convince one small hospital that I was competent. That hospital is full of bureaucrats and cowards, Reeves said. We need a warrior. We need someone who knows how to function under impossible pressure. Someone who understands triage, combat medicine, and keeping people alive when everything is falling apart. We need Dr. Sarah Chen. She's dead, Sarah said. I killed her because I couldn't be her anymore. Then resurrect her, Reeves replied. Because right now she's the only chance those people have. Behind them, the hospital doors burst open. Morrison ran out, his face pale, Patricia right behind him. Wait, Morrison shouted. There's been a terrible mistake. Miss Chun, please, we need to talk. Reeves held up a hand, cutting him off. Director Morrison. You have no authority here. Miss Chen is now under Pentagon jurisdiction. Any attempt to interfere will be considered obstruction of a federal operation. Morrison sputtered. Patricia looked like she might faint. Other staff members had gathered in the doorway, staring at the scene unfolding. Sarah stood frozen, caught between two versions of herself. The weak nurse they'd just fired. The combat surgeon she'd tried to forget. 8 years ago, she'd sworn she'd never go back to that life. Never again carry the weight of war. Never again watch people die and wonder if she could have done more, been faster, been better. But Reeves had said lives were at stake. Americans in danger. And despite everything, despite the pain, the trauma, despite
Everything, despite the pain, the trauma.
The fear. Sarah knew her answer before she consciously made the decision. Because healing wasn't what she did. It was who she was. Even when it broke her. What do you need me to do? Sarah asked quietly. Reeves nodded. Something like respect in his eyes. Come with us. We'll brief you on the way. Sarah turned to Morrison one last time. He stood there in his expensive suit. This man who'd called her weak. Who'd said she wasn't cut out for real medicine. You have no idea what real medicine is, she said. You sit in your office making decisions about people's lives. But you've never held someone together with your bare hands while mortar fell around you. You've never had to choose which person lives and which person dies because you can't save them both. Patricia thinks I'm weak because I cry for my patients. But you know what takes real strength? Caring enough to break and still showing up the next day to try again. She walked toward Reeves and his team, leaving Morrison speechless on the sidewalk. As she passed Patricia, she paused. Margaret Wilson is alive because I broke protocol. Because I trusted my judgment over a rule book. That's not weakness. That's medicine. A black SUV waited at the curb, engine running. Sarah climbed in, and they pulled away from St. Catherine's. She watched the hospital disappear in the side mirror, that place where she'd tried so hard to be small, to be safe, to be just an ordinary nurse. That place that had rejected her. Where are we going? She asked. Joint Base Lewis McChord, Reeves said from the front seat. We'll fly out from there. The situation is in Yemen. A group of medical aid workers was providing care in a rural area when they got caught between two militant factions. They're trapped in a compound with limited supplies, no way out, and approximately 40 wounded civilians.
The State Department is working on extraction, but that could take days. Those people don't have days.
Sarah's training kicked in automatically, her mind shifting gears. What's the medical situation? Triage nurse says they have multiple gunshot wounds, blast injuries, severe burns, and at least 3 critical cases that need immediate surgery or they'll die.
They have basic supplies but no surgeon.
No one with the expertise to handle combat trauma. So you're inserting me into an active war zone to perform emergency surgery?
Yes, Sarah should have been terrified.
8 years ago, this would have sent her into a panic attack. But something strange was happening.
The fog that had clouded her mind since Morrison's office was lifting.
Her hands had stopped shaking. That old familiar calm was settling over her. The calm that had carried her through 300 surgeries under fire. What's the team composition?
She asked. Reeves pulled out a tablet, bringing up files. 4-person security detail. All special forces.
2 medics with advanced tactical training. You'll be the lead surgeon. Command of all medical decisions. Evacuation plan? As soon as the State Department secures a corridor, helicopters will extract everyone. But again, that could be 48 to 72 hours. You'll have to keep those critical cases alive until then. In a compound that's under threat of attack.
With limited supplies and no real surgical setup.
Correct. Sarah closed her eyes, seeing it all in her mind. The chaos. The blood. The impossible decisions.
The weight of lives balanced on the edge of her scalpel.
Everything she'd run from. I'll need a detailed inventory of available medical supplies before we land, she said. And I need to know about power sources, generators, backup batteries, everything. I'll need patient charts on the critical cases transmitted as soon as possible so I can plan the surgeries.
And I need your medics on the phone right now so I can assess their skill level and assign roles.
Reeves smiled. There she is. Welcome back, Dr. Chen.
The next 4 hours were a blur of preparation.
At Joint Base Lewis McChord, Sarah was issued combat fatigues, protective gear, and medical supplies. She reviewed patient charts on a secure tablet while a transport plane fueled up. The critical cases were bad. A 12-year-old boy with a gunshot wound to the abdomen, sepsis setting in. A young woman with blast injuries, internal bleeding. An elderly man with severe burns and respiratory distress. Any one of them could die if she made a single mistake.
The medics checked in via video call.
Names Rodriguez and Kowalski.
They were good, competent, used to field medicine.
Sarah briefed them on procedures, made sure they understood her expectations. She'd be relying on them completely. The security team leader introduced himself as Captain Marcus Webb, former Army Ranger, serious and professional.
Our job is to keep you alive, Doctor. You focus on the patients. We'll handle everything else.
What if we're attacked during surgery?
Sarah asked. Then we defend the compound.
But you keep operating.
You don't stop until we physically move you.
Understood? Sarah nodded. She understood completely.
She'd operated through mortar strikes before. You learn to block out everything except the person on your table. You learn to separate the sounds of war from the sound of a patient's heartbeat.
You learn to function while the world exploded around you. As the plane lifted off,
Sarah stared out the window at Seattle disappearing below.
Somewhere down there, Morrison was probably still trying to figure out what had happened. Patricia was probably spreading gossip about the weird situation with the fired nurse.
St. Catherine's would go on without her.
Business as usual.
Everyone's safe in their protocols and procedures, and Sarah was heading into hell. But for the first time in years,
she felt alive. The flight to Yemen took 18 hours with refueling stops.
Sarah spent the time reviewing medical procedures, checking equipment, and mentally preparing for what was coming. She tried not to think about the 8 years she'd lost.
The time she'd wasted trying to be someone she wasn't.
She tried not to think about how Morrison's words had cut her. How Patricia's cruelty had made her doubt herself. Weak. Too emotional. Not cut out for real medicine. Maybe she was all those things. But she was also a damn good surgeon. They landed at a U.S. military base just before dawn.
From there, 2 helicopters carried them into Yemen's interior. As they flew over the desert, Sarah saw the country spread below, beautiful and dangerous, ancient and war-torn.
Somewhere down there, people were dying because they'd tried to help.
Because they'd cared too
much to stay safe at home. People like her. The compound appeared as the sun rose, a cluster of buildings surrounded by walls, marked with medical symbols. But even from the air, Sarah could see the damage. Bullet holes. Scorch marks. A collapsed section of wall. They landed in the courtyard under covering fire from the ground team. Dust and noise and chaos. Sarah grabbed her medical kit and ran inside. The scene was exactly as bad as she'd feared.
The main building had been converted into a makeshift hospital.
Wounded people lay on every available surface, floors, tables, even propped against walls. The smell hit her immediately: blood, infection, fear. The American aid workers looked exhausted, terrified, and relieved all at once. Dr. Chen? A woman approached, maybe 30, blonde hair pulled back. Exhaustion in her eyes. I'm Jennifer Walsh. I've been doing triage.
Thank God you're here. I'm just a nurse. I don't have the training for this. Just a nurse.
Sarah almost laughed at the phrase. Show me the critical cases. The 12-year-old boy first. Amari. His mother called him. He'd been helping at a market when the shooting started.
Caught in the crossfire. Gutshot, infection spreading.
His vitals were deteriorating.
Jennifer had kept him on IV antibiotics, but he needed surgery. The young woman, Fatima. 23, engaged to be married.
Blast injury from an IED. Internal bleeding, possibly a ruptured spleen. Stable for now, but not for long. The elderly man, Hassan. Burns covering 40% of his body. Fluid loss. Risk of organ failure. Every breath was agony.
I need the cleanest space you have, Sarah said.
Rodriguez, Kowalski, start setting up a surgical area.
Captain Webb, I need security at every entrance.
No one interrupts during surgery unless the building is literally falling down. They moved with military efficiency, converting a back room into a makeshift operating theater. It wasn't ideal, not even close to sterile, but it would have to do. Sarah scrubbed up using bottled water and antiseptic, her mind already planning the procedures. Amari first. The sepsis could kill him in hours. She operated by lamplight. Rodriguez assisting, Kowalski monitoring vitals. The bullet had torn through the boy's intestines. Peritonitis was setting in. Sarah worked methodically, repairing damage, irrigating the wound, fighting infection. Outside, she heard sporadic gunfire. Webb's team returning fire. She blocked it out. Just the patient. Just the work. 2 hours later, Amari was stable. Not out of danger, but stable. Fatima next. The internal bleeding was worse than expected. Sarah had to make a judgment call, remove the spleen or try to repair it. In a regular hospital, she'd have CT scans, blood banks, an anesthesiologist. Here, she had her hands and her training. She removed the spleen. Stopped the bleeding. Closed up. Fatima would survive. Hassan's burns required different treatment. No surgery, just constant care. Fluid management, wound care, pain management. Jennifer and the other aid workers could handle it under Sarah's direction. For 48 hours, Sarah worked nonstop. Operating, monitoring, treating. When she wasn't in surgery, she was checking on patients, adjusting treatments, managing the aid workers. The gunfire outside continued sporadically. Webb's team held the perimeter. Rodriguez brought her coffee and protein bars, forcing her to eat. Kowalski updated her on supplies, rationing carefully. It was exactly like her old life. Except this time, Sarah didn't break. She was tired, exhausted, really. Her hands ached. Her back screamed from hours bent over patients. But she didn't fall apart. She didn't shake. She did her job, patient after patient, life after life. On the third day, the State Department secured an evacuation corridor. Helicopters arrived to airlift everyone out: wounded civilians, aid workers, Sarah's team. The extraction was smooth, professional, and utterly surreal after days of chaos. As they flew towards safety, Sarah sat next to Amari's stretcher, monitoring his vitals. The boy was weak but alive. He'd recover. Fatima was stable. Hassan was stable. Not a single critical case had died on her watch. Jennifer sat across from her, tears streaming down her face. You saved them all. I couldn't have done it. I didn't have the training, the experience. I was so scared. You did fine, Sarah said. You kept them alive until I got there. That took incredible skill. I'm just a nurse, Jennifer said. You're a real doctor. A surgeon. Sarah thought about Morrison's office. Patricia's sneers. The way St. Catherine's had made her feel small and inadequate. I am a surgeon, she said slowly. But I'm also a nurse. Both things. The surgery is important, but so is the caring. The hand-holding. The compassion. That's not weakness. That's what makes us healers. Back at the military base, Reeves was waiting. Excellent work, doctor. All patients stable, 0 casualties during your watch. Exactly what we expected from you. What happens now? Sarah asked. That's up to you. The military would love to have you back. Full rank restoration, your choice of assignments. We could use someone with your skills. Sarah considered it. The old life, calling her back. But something had changed. She'd proven to herself that she could still do this work, that she wasn't broken or weak. But she'd also remembered why she'd left. I'm a healer, she said. That's what I do best. Not full-time combat medicine. I can't go back to that. Then what do you want? Sarah thought about it. I want to help people who need it most. Disaster response. Emergency situations. The cases that fall through the cracks. But on my terms. When I'm called, I answer. When I need to rest, I rest. Reeves nodded. The government has programs like that. Civilian Medical Reserve. They could use someone of your caliber. You'd be on call for situations like this: natural disasters, humanitarian crises, anywhere American interests need emergency medical expertise. But you'd have a normal life between deployments. And what about St. Catherine's? Sarah asked with a wry smile. What about them? You're not going back there. I know. But I want them to know. I want Morrison to know exactly what he threw away. I want Patricia to understand what weak really means. Reeves grinned. I think that's already handled. The Pentagon sent them a full report of your service record and your Yemen operation. Classified details redacted, of course, but enough to make it clear that they terminated one of the most qualified medical professionals they'd ever employed. Sarah imagined Morrison's face reading that report. She imagined Patricia's shock. Part of her wanted to gloat, to rub their faces in their mistake. But mostly she just felt free. She didn't need their approval anymore. 2 weeks later, Sarah was back in Seattle, settling into a small apartment. The Civilian Medical Reserve Corps had accepted her immediately. She'd be on call for emergencies, but otherwise, she could live her life. She'd even started looking at part-time nursing positions at clinics and community health centers, places where compassion was valued, where her skills could help people who really needed it. Her phone rang. Unknown number. Dr. Chen? This is Amari's mother. Jennifer gave me your number. I wanted to thank you. My son is doing well. The doctors say he'll make a full recovery. You saved his life. Sarah felt tears prick her eyes. I'm so glad. Tell Amari I'm proud of him. He's a brave kid. After they hung up, Sarah stood in her apartment, looking out at the Seattle skyline. Somewhere in that city was St. Catherine's Hospital, where they'd called her weak. Where they'd said she wasn't cut out for real medicine. They'd been wrong. Not because she wasn't emotional or didn't care too much, but because those things, the compassion, the empathy, the refusal to see patients as just problems to be solved, those were her strengths. They always had been. She'd spent 8 years trying to be smaller, quieter, weaker. Trying to hide from the person she really was. It had taken getting fired and flying into a war zone to remember. She was Dr. Sarah Chen, combat surgeon, healer, someone who cared too much and broke the rules when lives were at stake. Someone who was exactly as strong as she needed to be. Her phone buzzed again. This time, a text from Reeves. Situation developing in Haiti. Earthquake response. Need medical personnel. Interested? Sarah smiled and typed back, when do we leave? Because healing wasn't just what she did. It was who she was. And she was done apologizing for it. So, what do you think? Have you ever felt underestimated or counted out because of who you are? Maybe you've been told you're too sensitive to caring or not tough enough for the real world? Sarah's story reminds us that our so-called weaknesses can actually be our greatest strengths. Sometimes the very thing that makes others doubt us is exactly what the world needs most. If this story resonated with you, I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Have you ever proven someone wrong who didn't believe in you? Share your story. Your experience might inspire someone else who needs to hear it today. And if you enjoyed this journey with Sarah, there are more stories like this waiting for you. Thanks for spending this time with me, and I'll see you in the next one.